Hi, John Coburn's my name. I'm President for the Oceania Federation. As you'd be aware now, we've received our National Sporting Organisation status through the Australian Sports Commission. Good times for us. It's a massive step forward for us. Now, what comes with the Australian Sports Commission recognition for us and also for the world recognition of the IFMA is our involvement with the anti-doping organisations WADA, which is the World Anti-Doping Agency, and ASADA, the Australian Sports Anti-Doping Agency. These are the organisations charged internationally with ensuring that sport is conducted drug-free. Now, what I'm going to do with this little video is just talk you through the basic concepts of how ASADA operates and how ASADA will interface with us as the peak body representing Muay Thai. Now, there's no free rides with NSO status. That means we have to meet a number of criteria, both administratively as a federation, but also subject our athletes to proper drug testing, which is an issue that we're very keen to do anyway. So it's a good coming together of both the federation's own and our entry into general sporting competition into Australia. I'll talk you through some of the basic concepts. Firstly, testing of athletes happens in what they call out of competition testing, and secondly, in competition testing. The day of competition is what is known as in competition. That means on the morning of the day that you're to compete to the end of that day, you can be subject to what is known as in competition dope testing, and for all other testing that happens on what is described as out of competition testing. Now, the testing itself can either be pre-arranged or it can be random. Now, random testing essentially means that an operative from ASADA will turn up at an event or at your home or where you train and require you to provide a urine sample. Now, urine sampling is typically the way that the testing is done, though it is possible for them to also require the athlete to undertake a blood test. So there's no excuse if you're asked to do a test, be it at your home, be it at your gym, or be it at a competition. The athlete must subject himself to testing. Now, there's no way around that. If you don't, it's essentially the same as if you fail to provide a breath test to the police when you're driving for alcohol testing. Same concept, that is, if you don't provide a sample, then there's deemed penalties automatically applied to you. So it's not a matter of attempting to skip, it's a matter of you will provide the test, otherwise you will be deemed to have committed an offence under the code. In respect of the testing itself, the ASADA representative, which is known as a chaperone, must actually see the athlete provide the specimen. That means they need to actually see you urinate. Now, there's no point being coy, that's what's required. If it's an underage athlete, then a coach or a parent will be requested to be there to ensure that there's proper propriety. If it's a female competitor, then there'll be a female chaperone assigned to provide the testing environment. When you've provided your sample, it will be split into what they call an A and a B sample. Now, the purpose of this is to ensure that a second sample can be tested if the first sample comes up as showing presence of a drug. Now, the A sample gets tested. ASADA will advise the athlete that the test has come positive. ASADA will then offer the athlete the opportunity to have the B sample tested, and the B sample will be tested at a separate testing facility to ensure that there's been no contamination and that there's a significant degree of certainty that a test is a true positive for presence of a drug. The basis of testing athletes for doping centres upon three criteria. The first being whether the agent that's being ingested has a capacity for improving an athlete's performance. The second criteria is whether the doping agent may well be deleterious to the athlete's health, that is, it could affect your health adversely. And the third criteria is whether the ingestion of a particular substance is contrary to the general conduct of sport. Now, you need to be aware that in respect of the in-competition testing and the out-of-competition testing, there is different substances which are deemed banned. Now, they are different, and there's, not that I'm suggesting that there's any moral judgment to be made with this, but if I could just describe to you, for the out-of-competition testing, there's certain agents that are deemed bad at any time, be they in competition or out of competition testing. Now, they are the anabolic steroids, they are hormones and diuretics. Now, they're bad at any time. If you get caught with steroids, hormones or diuretics in your system, then you'll be subject to penalty for having a prohibited substance within your body. Now, in competition testing, that list is expanded, and the things apart from the anabolic steroids and hormones and diuretics, there's further things that will be tested for, and if you're found positive to, will involve potentially a penalty being imposed. Now, they include stimulants, they include narcotics, they include cannabis, they include glucocorticosteroids and beta blockers. Now, those things, if they're in your system in out of competition testing, won't form the basis for a banning under the ASADA code. Now, it may well form the basis later on for us developing our own policies and procedures that these other substances will be banned by ourselves, but for the purposes of ASADA, the narcotics, the stimulants, the cannabis and the glucocorticosteroids are only banned substances for the purposes of in-competition testing. Now, I'm not to make moral judgments about these things, but there is a differentiation. Now, I should say, just for explanation purposes, I have trouble saying this word, glucocorticosteroids are steroids that you are able to have for proper medical reasons during out-of-competition testing. And that's to do with overcoming injuries, to do with inflammation of joints,